Amid. If something is amid something else, then it is in the middle of it.
The bee was busily flying amid the flowers in the garden.
Backstage. If something happens backstage, it occurs behind a theater stage.
After the show, the director went backstage and thanked the actors.
Billionaire. A billionaire is someone who has at least $1 billion.
The sale of his inventions made the inventor a billionaire.
Brute. A brute is someone who behaves or looks like a violent animal.
My older brother can act like a brute when he doesn't get his way.
Clumsy. If someone is clumsy, then they are awkward in handling things.
The businessman was clumsy and dropped his work files.
Collide. To collide with something means to hit into it while moving.
The two cars collided with each other because their drivers were not careful.
Culprit. A culprit is someone who did a crime or other bad deed.
The police were still searching for the culprit from the robbery.
Evacuate. To evacuate means to leave a place of danger to a place of safety.
During the flood, many families were evacuated to higher ground.
Flammable. If something is flammable, then it is able to catch on fire.
Be careful with that blanket near the candle. It is extremely flammable.
Mob. A mob is a large crowd of people that often wants to cause violence.
The copier was destroyed by a mob of angry workers.
Premature. If something is premature, then it is done too early or before the proper time.
Mark's celebration was premature because the ball hadn't fallen in the hole.
Resent. To resent something means to have bad feelings about it.
She resented the fact that she had never been able to play an instrument.
Satire. A satire is a work of art that uses humor and irony to make fun of something.
This book is a satire of what life was like in the army.
Scrutiny. Scrutiny is the careful examination of something.
A scientist should always practice scrutiny with their work.
Segregate. To segregate something means to place it in a group apart from other things.
In gym class, the children were segregated into two groups, boys and girls.
Subject. To subject someone to something means to force them to do or experience it.
The officers subjected everyone to a careful search before they left the plane.
Testify. To testify means to give evidence as a witness.
The judge listened while the victim testified about the robbery.
Tumult. A tumult is a loud and confused noise made by a large crowd of people.
She couldn't hear her friend over the tumult of the other excited guests.
Underestimate. To underestimate something or someone means to think they are not important.
We lost the game because we underestimated the other team's skill.
Uproar. Uproar is loud noise caused by people who are very angry or upset.
The fans made a great uproar when their team lost the game.
Accelerate. To accelerate means to increase in speed.
When he stepped on the gas pedal, the motorcycle accelerated.
Anew. If you do something anew, you do it again and in a different way.
Though he had failed his driving test, he decided to try it anew.
Defect. A defect is a part of something that is wrong or missing.
All these bottles have a defect and must be sent back to the warehouse.
Dreary. If something is dreary, then it is dull, dark, and lifeless.
After the fire, this section of forest is rather dreary.
Duplicate. To duplicate something means to copy it.
She duplicated her friend's movements like she was in front of a mirror.
Electromagnetic. If something is electromagnetic, it is related to electricity and magnetic fields.
Different colors of light come from different levels of electromagnetic energy.
Electron. An electron is a particle in all atoms that has a negative electric charge.
The number of electrons in an atom determines the substance the atoms make.
Glide. To glide means to fly on extended wings with little or no effort.
When the wind is blowing, birds can glide easily through the sky.
Ingenious. If someone is ingenious, then they are very smart.
Charles was the only person ingenious enough to repair the plane's engines.
Innovation. An innovation is a product or idea that is new or very original.
Mrs. Johnson made a great innovation to the company's business plan.
Innovative. If something or someone is innovative, they can think in creative ways.
Since Peter was so innovative, he was chosen to lead the science team.
Launch. To launch something means to make it go into motion.
The boat launched from the dock and floated down the river.
Meteorological. If something is meteorological, it is concerned with the science of weather.
The thunderstorm was so large that it became a great meteorological event.
Meteorology. Meteorology is the science that studies the weather.
In order to understand the weather, you have to study meteorology.
Penetrate. To penetrate something means to enter into it.
The knife easily penetrated the surface of the orange.
Propulsion. Propulsion is the force that moves something forward.
The propulsion lifted the rocket into the sky.
Simulate. To simulate something means to copy its actions or characteristics.
The French language teacher could simulate the accent of a French citizen.
Spur. To spur someone means to urge them into action.
The coach's speech spurred her team into playing the best game of their lives.
Stimulate. To stimulate something means to cause or to increase activity in it.
Doctors sometimes use electric shock to stimulate a patient's heartbeat.
Tenacious. If someone is tenacious, then they do not easily give up.
I'm sure that he'll finish that difficult sale. He is very tenacious.
Beforehand. If something is done beforehand, then it is done in advance.
He packed his luggage beforehand, so he was able to leave right away.
Centigrade. If a temperature is centigrade, it is scaled so water freezes at 0 degrees and boils at 100 degrees.
During the springtime, the temperature gets as warm as 26 degrees centigrade.
Chatter. To chatter means to talk quickly about unimportant things.
The children chattered in the back of the classroom.
Concerto. A concerto is music for a solo instrument and played with an orchestra.
The piano concerto has a section in which only the piano plays.
Condense. To condense a gas means to make it a liquid.
The cool air made tiny drops of water condense on the tops of the grass.
Cove. A cove is a part of land where it curves inward around the sea.
They hid the boat in a small cove on the south side of the island.
Deteriorate. To deteriorate means to become steadily worse.
The nation's economy continued to deteriorate despite the politicians' efforts.
Exterior. An exterior is the outside surface of something.
The exterior of the nut was hard and woody, but the inside was soft and delicious.
Freeway. A freeway is a road with no stops where cars travel at high speeds.
Once you get on the freeway, it only takes an hour to drive to my parents' farm.
Hearty. If someone or something is hearty, then they are loud and happy.
The grandmother ended her story with a hearty laugh that pleased her grandchild.
Hospitable. If someone is hospitable, they are friendly to strangers.
At dinner, Dad was very hospitable to my friends.
Manor. A manor is a large house with many rooms.
The manor had over 40 rooms in addition to beautiful gardens.
Monastery. A monastery is a building in which monks live.
The monks at this monastery are famous for their bread and music.
Nursery. A nursery is a room where babies and children sleep, play, or are cared for.
The children kissed their parents goodnight and went upstairs to the nursery.
Outstretched. If something is outstretched, then it is extended to its full length.
The cat stood on its back legs with its front legs outstretched.
Parcel. A parcel is a package of things to be carried or mailed somewhere.
The parcel looked like it had been stepped on by someone.
Profile. A profile is an outline of a face, usually as seen from the side.
The drawing of Olivia's profile came out very well.
Vivacious. If someone is vivacious, they are talkative and cheerful.
Everyone at the party was very vivacious and having a good time.
Winding. If something is winding, then it follows a twisting course.
The winding river turned and looped around the bases of the hills.
Zip. To zip something means to close it with a zipper.
She zipped her backpack closed after putting her books inside it.
Airway. An airway is the passage by which air reaches a person's lungs.
Since he was sick, mucus would occasionally get stuck in his airway.
Almighty. The Almighty is a name for a god in a religion.
Before eating, they thanked the Almighty for their food.
Advent. An advent is the arrival or beginning of an important person, thing, or event.
During the advent of radio, very few programs actually played music.
Constellation. A constellation is a group of stars with a recognizable shape.
That constellation in the shape of a square is named after a flying horse.
Definitive. If something is definitive, then it is the most official.
This library has the definitive collection of books on ancient Egypt.
Equate. To equate one thing with another is to compare them and consider them very similar.
She equated the man's messy appearance with a lack of responsibility.
Inhale. To inhale means to take air or a smell into the lungs.
The camper inhaled the cool and fresh mountain air and felt relaxed.
Invoke. To invoke something is to mention it to support an argument or ask for help.
Before going into battle, the soldier invoked the name of his god for protection.
Lunar. If something is lunar, then it is related to the moon.
During a lunar eclipse, Earth's shadow darkens the moon's surface.
Novelty. A novelty is something that is new, original, or strange.
Ice cream was a novelty for him since he rarely had any.
Outmoded. If something is outmoded, then it is no longer in fashion or use.
Black and white television sets are outmoded.
Personalize. To personalize something means to design it to meet a person's unique needs.
He personalized the woman's exercises to give her a better workout.
Pertain. To pertain to something means to be related or connected to it.
All of the lawyer's questions pertain to events around the night of the crime.
Primal. If something is primal, then it is very basic or related to the origin of something.
Cooking the food over the campfire felt like a primal way of making a meal.
Psychiatric. If something is psychiatric, then it is related to mental illness or its treatment.
The doctor said the patient might have a psychiatric problem.
Psychiatry. Psychiatry is the study and treatment of mental illness.
Studying psychiatry has taught me a lot about mental illness.
Reflex. A reflex is an unconscious action in which a body part responds to an event.
There was a reflex when the doctor hit his knee with a rubber hammer.
Seizure. A seizure is sudden illness in which the body loses control and shakes.
Bright flashing lights can cause seizures in children.
Session. A session is a meeting at a regular time in order to discuss and solve an issue.
Every 3 months, the managers met in a session to discuss regional sales.
Utensil. A utensil is a common tool or container.
It seemed that a fork was the wrong utensil for trying to eat the soup.
Adhesive. An adhesive is a substance used for sticking things together.
The carpenter used an adhesive to hold the 2 pieces of wood together.
Adverse. If something is adverse, then it is harmful.
Not eating healthy foods can have an adverse effect on your health.
Dependency. A dependency is a strong need for someone or something.
The child still has a dependency on her mother.
Dump. To dump something means to throw it away or get rid of it.
She dumped the garbage into the trash can.
Eternal. If something is eternal, then it lasts forever.
She said that her love for him was eternal.
Fluctuate. To fluctuate means to rise and fall in number or amount.
Prices for gasoline have been fluctuating all month.
Fro. If something moves to and fro, it moves backward and forward or side to side.
Her long hair went to and fro as she swung on the swing.
Inclusion. Inclusion is the act of including someone or something in a group.
Her inclusion into the photo club was well received.
Intermediate. If something is intermediate, then it is in the middle of two levels, places, or times.
He selected the intermediate ski hill to begin his afternoon of skiing.
Intermittent. If something is intermittent, then it happens in a way that is not constant.
It was hard to focus because intermittent noises came from the workers outside.
Mentor. A mentor is a person with experience or knowledge who advises someone.
The students each chose a mentor to help them with the experiment.
Phoenix. A phoenix is an imaginary bird that burns to ashes and is reborn.
Some believe the phoenix is a symbol for rebirth and a new beginning.
Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process in which plants change sunlight and air.
The chemical in plants that makes them green is used in photosynthesis.
Pollen. Pollen is the tiny yellow powder made in the flowers of plants.
During the spring, the pollen in the air makes some people become sick.
Regain. To regain something means to get it back.
The battery regained its power after being recharged.
Reverse. To reverse means to change to the opposite direction.
They reversed their direction after seeing the sign.
Swarm. A swarm is a group of flying insects.
A beautiful swarm of butterflies filled the summer sky.
Texture. The texture of something is the way its surface looks and feels.
The texture of a rock found in the water is typically very smooth.
Tickle. To tickle someone is to touch them in a way that causes laughter.
The mother tickled the little boy's foot, and he screamed with laughter.
Vibrant. If something is vibrant, then it is bright and full of color.
Their new shirts were a vibrant shade of red.